Let's be real, there's a ton of anxiety right now about AI and what it all means for our jobs. It's a conversation that's happening pretty much everywhere, and if you're feeling that uncertainty, you are definitely not alone. So let's dive into this and talk about a way forward. You know what I love about this is how it just cuts to the truth. We see these headlines all the time, thousands of layoffs, and after a while they can start to feel like just, statistics. But behind every single one of those numbers is a person, a family, and a whole community feeling that impact for real. Okay, so before we get into any kind of solution or tool, it's just so important to stop and acknowledge the weight of this. Going through a layoff brings this huge wave of shock, uncertainty, even grief. And those feelings, they are not a sign of weakness at all. They're a completely natural response to having your life turned upside down. And that's because the impact goes so far beyond just one person. It really is a seismic shift. You feel it in those hushed conversations at the kitchen table. You see it in the quieted storefronts down the street. A big layoff can shake the very foundation of a town's economy and its whole sense of stability. Now we're getting to what might be the single most important part of this whole explainer. It's all about reframing the narrative. Because the story we tell ourselves in these moments, it matters a lot. For generations, we've kind of been sold this idea, right? If you work hard, if you're loyal, your job is safe. But that's just not the world we live in anymore. Today's layoffs are being driven by these massive structural shifts. We're talking automation, industry changes. It's not about your individual performance. And that's the point, right here. You didn't fail. When entire teams, whole departments get eliminated all at once, that is the clearest sign that the system itself is what's changing. Letting go of that personal blame, that is the first, most essential step to being able to think clearly and move forward. So, this brings us to a really fascinating and, let's be honest, kind of ironic twist in the story. We've been talking about AI as this force of disruption, but what if it could also be a tool for recovery? It's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, being skeptical here is totally understandable. But let's just explore for a minute how this very technology could be turned around to actually support the people who are most affected by it. So, right after a layoff, you are hit with an absolute avalanche of information. You've got severance papers, benefits notices, deadlines swirling all around you. It's a massive cognitive overload at a time when you're already drained. Now, this is where AI can step in, not to replace human support, but to act as a really practical assistant. By helping you just manage that initial chaos, technology can create the mental space you need to shift from that state of, understandable panic into proactive planning. It's about getting your perspective back. And here's what that looks like in practice. First, AI tools can help you organize all that info we just talked about. Next, and this is so important, it can help you rediscover the skills you already have, finding those hidden talents from your past work. And then, it can help you explore totally new industries or roles where those skills might be a perfect fit. Because that's the real goal here. The hardest part of losing a job often isn't a lack of skill. It's that feeling of being totally stuck. When you can suddenly see that you have choices, that there are multiple paths forward, that's when the fear starts to loosen its grip. Momentum starts to replace that paralysis, and with it, your sense of dignity comes back. And this all leads to a much bigger idea. We're not just talking about finding the next job. We're talking about building a new kind of stability for a future where, let's face it, change is the only constant. So that means we really need to redefine what resilience even is. It's not some kind of superpower for predicting what's coming next. It's about having support systems in place for when that disruption inevitably arrives. It's about having access to resources and community. So the ultimate goal, it shifts. It becomes less about climbing one single predictable career ladder and more about building your own capacity to navigate a future that's probably going to be a lot less linear. It's about going from feeling like you're at the mercy of these huge economic forces to actively shaping your own path. And that brings us to our final and really crucial point. As we build this future, we have to be so intentional about the role that technology is going to play in it. Let's be crystal clear about this. Technology is never neutral. Every single tool, every algorithm, it reflects the values of the people and the systems that built it. And far too often, those systems prioritize things like profit and efficiency over human impact and well-being. We have to remember this. A person's value is not defined by their employment status. It's not defined by a title on a business card. If technology is going to shape our future, it has a deep responsibility to leave room for dignity, for agency, and for care.
And so I'll just leave you with this question to think about. It's not about stopping technology, but it is about guiding it. How do we make sure that these incredible tools we're building are actually used to support people, to lift them up during tough times, and to build a future that truly serves all of us?